There was a lot riding on this game, this performance. I'm old enough to remember people picking North Carolina in this game. I know I did not. But what Nick Chubb did against Carolina in his first game back after what was a not fun to watch knee injury at Neyland Stadium a year before was something else. And he had 200, y'all. This guy had 222 total yards of offense. Well, they were all rushing yards, but against North Carolina, this was the famous game where Jacob Eason's first game, Kirby Smart's first game, Mitch Trubisky was who Georgia was dealing with, future first round draft pick. It was a heck of a showdown between two teams that were, there was a lot of momentum for Carolina coming in this game. But if you didn't remember Nick Chubb's 222 yards against North Carolina, that's not the most Nick ever had at Georgia, because he really blistered Louisville. But I did want to talk about Nick's day, which was capped with a 55-yard touchdown run with the Dogs up 2 late in the game. Georgia, so this game was really tight until the fourth quarter, and deep into the fourth quarter. I mean, Georgia had a 1-point lead going into the fourth quarter thanks to a safety. I don't know if everybody remembers that or not. So the game, Carolina came down and kicked a field goal to grab momentum right before the half, and Georgia went into the locker room up 14-10. And it seemed like Georgia was in control, and then boom, right off the bat, North Carolina scores a touchdown on a 95-yard kickoff return. I think that's the last time anybody scored a kickoff return against Georgia under Kirby. Now, I'm not sure. I have to go back and look. And then soon thereafter, they got a 10-point lead going up 24-14. And that was midway through the third quarter. And I remember what Kirby was saying after the game. So, again, this was Kirby's first game as head coach, and it was at the Dome. So a lot of the stuff that we're used to, like at Georgia, the way post-game is done and so forth, he had already done that with spring. But when you're at another place, it can be a little bit tricky. So his wife was there. I think the children were there too. I don't remember that as well. At least one or two of them was. And I remember, Kirby saying to Gary Stoken, who runs the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, that he wanted to come every year. And Gary was saying that he'd love to have him. Of course, that's not logistically possible, but there was a point in that game when Carolina had gotten the 10-point lead, and Kirby referenced it at the time and said, everybody said, "Here we go again." Well, it wasn't that way at all. It wasn't that way at all. If you want our 2023 preview, pick up Double Dogs today. I don't know how much longer we're going to do this, so take advantage of it now. You're going to get Double Dogs, the story of Georgia's national championship in 2022. I have to be specific now. And then you'll get the 2023 preview included. I ran out of them last year. The previews, I will probably run out of them this year. You've been warned. The link is down below. So you're sitting there in the third quarter, and Carolina's got a 10-point lead. That was right when, I don't think it was the next drive. So the thing to remember too here is that Jacob Eason was very much up and down in this game, if you want to call it that. But the Dogs, this is so hard to look at sometimes. The Dogs, they were trying to just win a game. So Grayson Lambert started the game. Jacob was supposed to start the game, by the way. That was the word we had gotten, that he was set to start the game. But it turns out that he didn't. And I don't know why he didn't start that game. But he didn't. I don't blame them for going with Grayson just because of, stability's sake. And Grayson came in at the end of the game too, by the way. But, Georgia needed a big play. And they were down 10, needed a big play. And after Carolina went up by 10, Georgia got the ball, if I'm not mistaken, and went down the field with Jacob and scored a touchdown. Yeah, that's right, they did. So Brian Harry and Nick Chubb, and then he completed a third down pass. Nick Chubb, Jacob, Nick, Jacob, Jacob, and then the 17-yard touchdown got Georgia within 3. And then that's when the game really switched. So Carolina scored to get up 10, and then Georgia came, I wouldn't say flying down the field. It took them 5 minutes. But then, Carolina, I don't know what happened, that they must have started the ball really close to their end zone. I don't remember that part. But they were close to they were inside the 10, and eventually, Roquan sacked Trubisky in the end zone for a safety. So Georgia's within 1, and then this is when the explosion comes in. So Terry Godwin goes for 6, Nick goes for 3, and then a couple plays later, I'm sorry, it was the next drive. This is when the roof about came off the place, was this touchdown that Jacob threw to, where is it? I'm getting lost here. I know there was a huge play. Am I thinking of earlier in the game? I have to be thinking of earlier in the game. I guess not. No, there was a huge play in the third or fourth quarter. It was like a 40-yard throw or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I thought the roof was going to come off the place. It was a 51-yard throw to Isaiah McKenzie. It was not a touchdown. That's okay. Now I've got my bearings straight here. But they're deep into the fourth quarter, and Georgia, with 10 minutes to go, starts a drive, and they're just trying to get the lead extended. So Jacob hits Isaiah McKenzie for a 51-yard play, but they don't score a touchdown somehow. And William Ham scores. He was starting in front of Rodrigo. He was kicking for Georgia. He knocked in that field goal. But the play I will always remember was, Georgia's up 26-24. There's 4 minutes to go. Carolina just gets stuffed on a 3-and-out, essentially. It wasn't 3-and-out, but it was close. And then the next play, here comes Grayson Lambert comes in, because at that point, I think Kirby and them were like, hey, we're going into a shell. We've got a 2-point lead. We're just trying to grind this thing out. There's 3 minutes left in the game. We're up 2. We just need first downs. Well, this guy goes for 55 yards. Boom, like lightning. And it was an amazing run that Nick had. I'm going to try to show it on the screen here in a second. It was an amazing run that Nick had. And, it just showed how powerful he was as a person, like as an athlete, as a human being, getting back into shape. The way he got hurt against Tennessee was horrible. It was not fun to see. And for him to come back, I'm going to show a couple of images from this Carolina game. Let me try. I'm having all sorts of technical difficulties today. There it is. Okay. So we had some really neat shots of that game. We thought it would matter more than it does in the grand scheme of history. But here's Nick taking off for that 55-yard run. It's right here. This is the touchdown run. And here's Brendan Kublano in the background. You can't see my mouse. Here's Brendan Kublano in the background, and this is Nick taking off on a 55-yard run, and the dome exploded. It's such a great place for people to watch Georgia play. The dome was, and now so is what's it called? So is Mercedes-Benz. And here's your boy Kirby. Oh man. After the game. But these were all up here, different people, different advantages of that Nick Chubb run. We're slightly out of exposure there, but I thought the one of Brennan Kublano in the background was the best one. But there's no shortage of them. We nailed this image for sure. And Nick was just one of the best, not just players at Georgia, but he was tough, man. And getting through this game, here are these of Kublana that are better. They're a little bit better. I mean, it's just that you lose the North Carolina players in the background, unfortunately. But here's Kublana, who has lost a lot of weight. I'm very glad, and Nick just taking off for a 55-yard run. He was an exceptional player, Nick Chubb, as you can see from some of these images. And where I know we're just doing this wrong, I'm just sort of talking here. But Carolina was not going to win that game if Nick Chubb had anything to say about it. And that run was an exceptional piece of running. It was wide open, don't get me wrong, as I recall. But there's something to be said for speed. And that night, 222 yards, Georgia over Carolina, in a game that was a curious game. It was nobody knew what to think of where Georgia was coming into this thing. But they, of the 2016 season. But it started off with a bang thanks to Nick Chubb.